Some of you out there have been expecting the Walt Disney Company to learn its lesson by now. Watch that stock drop. Watch Bob Iger twist and turn in those meetings and those earnings calls. And yet, the company is not learning at all. No, the company is doubling, tripling, nay, I say it is quadrupling down on pushing agendas and bypassing parents. Not only that, but the company is pursuing an unwinnable strategy, both in its ideology and in Florida. Let's talk about it right now. All right, we are here to explain entertainment, keep you ahead of the culture curve. It's what we do each and every day. We love doing it. Sometimes it's not so easy. Today is going to be one of those days. We will have to tread very carefully, given the territory in which we inhabit right now, folks. So just know that as we go through this, perhaps we are being a little more coy than usual. But even as we do that, we ask that if you like content like this, consider clicking the like button, share, subscribe, and you can stick it to the algorithms when you click it. We're talking about the notification bell. We are having a massive expert panel with us to cover this because it's a big deal. A full-on expose on what Disney is up to. There's no press release out of the House of Mouse on this one. Oh, no. They're not out ringing the bells to let you know they're up to this one. But we've got Lauren Connor of That Park Place. We have Lorena Creole. We have Caffeinated Wolf. We have Jonas J. Campbell, Valiant Renegade, and little old me here to walk you through what is actually going on with Disney, the Disney that they don't want you to know about. Let's dive in. This coming to us from Out.com. Bet you didn't see that one coming. Disney announces new content deal with Out's parent company, Equal Pride. Yep. So here's what they have to say. In an effort to be more inclusive, folks, Strange World was not enough. Lightyear was not enough. In an effort to be more inclusive and bolster representation, Disney Advertising has signed branded content development agreements with diverse-owned media companies, including Out's own parent company, Equal Pride. Each company under the agreements will develop custom short or long-form branded content. And although the agreements are rooted in streaming, take note of that, Disney Plus and Hulu, take note of it. The size of the company's portfolio will support content distributions across multiple platforms. When I say take note of it, just know that when you watch or when your children end up watching content like Strange World now, oh, they're getting these ads. Just wait. Here's what the quote is here. What we're trying to do is create systemic and meaningful change in the end. Joe Campbell, Senior Vice President of Client Partnerships at Disney Advertising, told Adweek in a statement, "This boggles my mind. Your goal is to sell your content via advertising." But no. It is to create systemic and meaningful change in the end. Okay.
Is that basically an admission that this is propaganda rather than trying to market actual goods and services?
Jonas, as we said, quadrupling down. We can't do that if we're not consistent and intentional. None of us are here. None of us at Disney are here for the Heritage Months only. We all activate. What kind of terminology? We all activate 365 days a year. So if clients want to work with us for 5 days or 52 weeks, we have solutions. And these teams here are all part of those solutions. Equal Pride, as well as Cosina, Group Black, and United Masters will operate as the primary production partners for independently produced content. And by the way, folks, what I think is happening here is that Disney is outsourcing this divisive stuff in hopes that they can pass the buck and you won't notice. And let me say this too, not all of these groups are equal. For example, Group Black, I've researched all of these now extensively. Group Black does not seem to me to be, at this point, a group that is very egregious in doing anything wrong. Equal Pride, on the other hand, is a completely different story. And so let's talk about that. I would like to show all of you in the audience Equal Pride, their website, what it is they produce, what kind of content they make, and that is exceedingly difficult. It is tremendously difficult to do that on YouTube. So here's what I can show you. This is about it, and then we'll go into a conversation about this. Equal Pride is the same group that is behind the Evolution of Family marketing campaign for Lexus. I can't imagine how that is tremendously successful for pushing vehicles, but perhaps it is. This is what they say about it. The LGBTQ plus family is an evolution of the modern American family. That'll sell cars, all right. And the Lexus GX is an evolution of an iconic family of vehicles. Oh, I see. The Evolution of Family series captures the importance of acceptance in families. And if you go down, it talks more about this. And essentially, what this Equal Pride group did is they took Lexus, a very popular brand, and they made a propaganda series of marketing attempts to try to, well, let's just read this right here. It says, through a series of stylish, progressive, highly evolved film portraits, Out follows two family stories of evolution from the traditional American family. I'm just flabbergasted that that would work on selling vehicles. But let me say this. That's vehicles. That's different. And we could look at all of the very many partners that Equal Pride has. The problem I have here is that this is the Walt Disney Company. And the Walt Disney Company produces content for children. And the Walt Disney Company is currently under quite a bit of fire for having put content into children's programming that parents may not have been fully aware of, and which now it seems everybody is becoming privy to what the Disney strategy has been, i.e. Reimagine Tomorrow. You would think that if Disney had learned any lesson at all, that they would not be joining forces with a company that already has used other companies in order to market propaganda about the American family. This seems bizarre to me. I'm not here, folks, to make any kind of moral judgment. I'm not here if you are a viewer of any kind of different sort of orientation, or if you feel that you're a part of the LGBTQIA plus group. I am not here to tell you that you're of any less value or that your positions are wrong. What I am here to do is explain entertainment, and that's what this panel is here to do. And it seems to me that Disney partnering with this group and kind of keeping it hush-hush at the same time, it does not feel right for a company that probably needs to be moderating. Let me hand it to the panel and see if I am wrong on this. Lauren, you happen to be in the top left corner, and based on the Western tradition, that places you as number one in terms of beginning. So let's go to you, Lauren. Are you shocked at all that Disney is partnering with other groups for this intersectionality advertising push, and that it is connected with the exact same streaming initiatives that we were discussing earlier with Disney Plus and Hulu combining?
Am I surprised? No, they're still significantly trying to push this line, and I think that there's market force reasons for doing so. We've discussed before how you have these institutional investors, BlackRock, folks involved with ESG initiatives that are providing credit lines to these people. When you're providing an incentive for something, you're going to get more of it. And right now, they're still pushing this agenda. Now, I think there's two competing forces that can help maybe moderate their position. One is that Vanguard has started to abandon those kind of principles. It creates some competition there in the space that might allow them to back away from this. The other thing is their stock price. You're saying that you think that they may be partnering quietly so that they can claim, oh, this isn't us, it's the content providers. I'm not sure the audience makes that distinction. I don't think people look too deeply into that. When they start seeing that content, if it's streaming on their platforms, it's going to be attributed to Disney either way.
That's a good point, Lauren. Lorena, there was an excellent article on That Park Place earlier today talking about individualism or individuality versus intersectionality, and that's what is happening inside Disney right now, is that they have abandoned the idea of individualism, and that they have went wholeheartedly into just sort of having groups be a homogenous idea. And so everybody of a certain type they're all the same, and then you just market to those groups as if they're all the same. Do you think that Disney, in doing this, is this perhaps overblown? Am I making too much out of this? Or does this indicate that the company is continuing to more and more push what we've been seeing that has driven their stock price down?
I think they're just doing more and more of that, especially as you see the entertainment that they push out. especially when you see the marketing campaigns that they put out. It's not enough to, well, I'll give the evolution here. It's not enough to say, oh, we're marketing to Black audiences. Now it's Black plus LGBTQIA intersected with third world, a third wave feminism. It's all in this homogenous kind of like mess that they put together.
Which is how you get Jonathan Majors in something that looked like a pink bathroom floor mat at one point in the photo shoot.
Gosh, yes. It's like, no, if you were going for the Huggy Bear look, that was not it.
It's the emasculation of the African American or Black male.
Completely. And I remember getting a lot of static about that. Somebody said, oh, it was modeled after someone, in anime. I said, don't even blaspheme like that. That was obviously something that was very, very effeminate. And that's something that Disney has done a lot of when it comes to Black men, emasculating them at pretty much every turn. Wakanda Forever, prime example of that happening. But I think Disney is of the mindset where it's easier to control people when you put them all in one group, and it's basically, here's the bad group against all of you. And how I know that Disney doesn't like it when you separate those two, try being a minority that speaks out on that. When it's just like, why are you applying that to all of us?
That's a great point. Wolf, let's follow up on that, because that's a fascinating line to go down. What do you make of the idea that Disney and other companies are grouping now distinctly different demographics into a single bundled box that is all combined with this LGBTQIA+ that may not represent groups like all African Americans or all Latinos, or should we say for Disney, Latinx? That will offend so many. But what do you make of the idea that they're just all being thrown in the same picnic basket? And it's like, no, they're not the same. You can't homogenize them. And yet Disney and these companies are attempting it. Maybe that's the easier idea for them. Maybe it's an easier route if they just assume, oh, they're all part of the same group.
Well, there's an interesting word that has to do with assuming or suggesting that everybody that happens to fall into a certain set of characteristics is all identical. And
yes, but that's out of vogue now, Caffeinated Wolf. That's out of vogue now. That's what we learned as children. Remember, we were all taught not to judge people by the color of their skin. Now the opposite has become, the leading candidate for truth.
It's so weird. And, it's funny how Lorena brought up, look at these people's reaction anytime somebody who does happen to fall into one of these minority groups steps out of line, right? You see the attacks come right away. We saw that immediately and full blast with the Rippaverse. I've never seen anyone attack Eric July like they did when he saw the success that we had with the first ISOM campaign. All of a sudden, the masks came off. Oh, you're not anti-racist. You're just a racist, but only not when it comes to people that happen to agree with you on certain things. Got it. Already knew that, but thank you for showing everybody else. It's just so sad, though, because we were over all of this stuff. We were over all of this stuff in the 90s. 3 of my favorite shows growing up, and when I say growing up, I'm talking when I was like 6, 7, 8 years old. Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, All in the Family, Family Matters. What else? I watched old episodes of The Jeffersons as reruns with my parents. I freaking loved these shows.
Favorite show.
I loved those shows. And a lot of my friends did too. And nobody cared about any of this stuff. But Disney has been on this hard line about it for so long now. And to address the original question, which is this surprising? Part of me wants to say yes, because I got to believe that they're intelligent business people at a corporation, or really a mega corporation the size of Disney. But I don't have a master's in business. I've got a bachelor's in it, and I don't need a master's to recognize that if you are seeing your stocks tank and you're seeing decreasing views and decreasing sales in your products when you are going down a specific direction consistently, and you can point and make causality there. You flip direction. You don't double down on what clearly isn't working.
Excellent points all. And as you were talking about Family Matters, I was thinking in my head about people of all different backgrounds, children of all different backgrounds of the 90s. How many of them saw Carl Winslow as a father figure? And it did not matter the color of his skin or the color of their skin.
He was like the father of the 90s, like to a lot of kids.
And he's doing TV commercials again right now as Carl.
With Progressive,
Reginald Bell
TV
Johnson
dad.
still doing it.
Reginald Bell Johnson is back as the TV dad for a reason.
You know,
that's right. Because so many identify him as being a good father, a good father figure.
The best episodes were always the ones where Uncle Phil or Carl had to come out and bail Eddie and Urkel and Will out of jail, or that pool hall episode.
Yep.
Oh man, that's just awesome fatherhood, and there's not enough of that anymore.
Well, let's go to Valiant real quick. And Valiant, I hope you enjoy the backdrop we'll provide. This is straight out of this company that Disney has brought in now to create content. We're just going to put it there.
I'm leaving.
But Valiant, are we wrong somehow? Is there actually a large enough market that perhaps we're missing this? And we're not trying to be mean or we're not trying to demean anybody. We're not trying to ostracize anybody. I'm just saying that for Disney, this seems like the wrong kind of fit for the moment we're in. But is there a market out there that Disney needs to be chasing and we're just missing it?
Sure. I can sum it up in one word: bros.
Go ahead and explain it, Vane. I know what you're talking about with the movie, but explain that real quick for the audience.
The movie that one of the worst performing films I've ever seen in my life in terms of the box office, and it was all geared towards this. And that was geared towards adults. And they didn't go.
Yeah, they didn't even want to deal with it.
What do you think you're going to inject this into children's programming? And to Lorena's point earlier, all the groups that she listed there, that they're, as y'all stated, trying to lump together, it's because it stems from this political mindset that all those groups are monolithic, right? They should all think and vote, more importantly. That's what they believe. They should all vote the same way. They don't. Surprise! They don't. But that's what they believe. And a lot of companies out there, not just Disney, of course. This is just Disney Bud Lighting itself at this point. And what they're doing is that they're turning over the future of their company to these, what we used to refer to as these Madison Avenue marketing firms. Madison Avenue, New York, for those of you who don't know what I'm talking about. Where there's a lot of big, high-profile, multi-million-dollar marketing firms that a lot of these Fortune 500 companies use. And nowadays, they're all run by, younger millennials and Gen Zers and all this kind of crap. And this is what you get. You have to appeal because they believe that the world around them, this isolated bubble that exists in places like San Francisco and Los Angeles and Manhattan and some of these areas that are of similar nature, that the rest of the country is all like that too. It's not. It's clearly not. We see the products that the rest of the country largely consumes. What has been the biggest movies, the biggest television shows in the past just year alone? Yellowstone and all of the Taylor Sheridan stuff on TV. Movies. How about Top Gun Maverick? Now Super Mario Brothers. It's devoid of all that. It's just the same old classic good storytelling entertainment. There's no
moderation is where the money is.
Yeah, it's not even moderation. It's just completely devoid of any type of messaging whatsoever. There's no one way or the other about it. It's just, here's your hero's journey. Here's your basic story. Here's some intrigue that everybody, no matter who they are, what their skin color is, what their orientation is, what their self-identification is, they can all identify with characters in those films and those television shows. That's what Hollywood used to do. And now they want to divide everybody into these ethno-political groups that have never existed until recent history, at least not in general culture, until we've been told that we all have to separate ourselves by these completely superfluous, trivial issues like skin color and sexual orientation.
Incidental.
People don't care about this stuff by and large. Just give us good product. Now, if Disney wants to go down this road, go for it. As Ron DeSantis once said, if this is the hill that Disney wants to die on, go for it.
Oh, we're about to cover that too, by the way.
And yeah, we're seeing this is a real reckoning. Disney's box offices, Disney's viewership, it's all gone down. They're not where they should be. They're claiming that, we have the biggest box office every year at the theater. Well, yeah, that's because you put out 3 times as many blockbuster movies as everybody else. That doesn't mean you're actually profiting on them. They're not, by and large. And they're going to continue to go down this path. And it's notable that people like Nelson Peltz, who had divested himself from some of the shares that he purchased late last year, if you guys missed this, recently picked up a whole bunch of new shares since March 31st. Yeah.
Get ready.
He's climbing his way back up. Of course, Disney stock price is down, so it's very attractive just from a pure financial standpoint. But, And
no financial advice being given here, folks. Please don't go buy Disney stock.
No.
We say we're not here to do that. If you need financial advice, go find a certified, classified, qualified financial advisor in your own area. But Valiant, before we go to Jonas, who has been waiting patiently, biting, ready to go on the chomping at the bit, let's say. I do want to get your take, though, Valiant, on this particular quote, because it is straight out of someone who should be focused on the business of Disney. So let me walk through this again, because I just find this fascinating. Joe Campbell, Senior Vice President, Client Partnerships at Disney Advertising. What we're trying to do is create systemic and meaningful change in the end. Okay? We can't do that if we're not consistent and intentional. None of us are here for the Heritage Months only. We all activate 365 days a year. Right? What do you make of this language? What is this? Is this typical business parlance that I'm just missing? Or
no?
Does this reek a little bit of someone who is missing that the goal is to sell product and instead is attempting to push ideology?
This has nothing to do with making profit or increasing shareholder value. This has everything to do with leveraging shareholder value into pushing political ideology and messaging. That is it. That is what the Walt Disney Company is doing. And I'm sorry for those of you out there who, think that Disney is turning a corner. It isn't. At least not right now.
Definitely not based on this.
Bob Iger is back, and he's pushing into this ever more.
Jonas, pins and needles. You've been waiting. Take it away.
Well, what do you want me to say? First of all, I absolutely agree with what Lorena said and what Andrew said. They see,
but not what Valiant said. We see how it is. Lauren, you're you're chopped liver today.
Man, I can't get away with it. I can't agree with 2 people on the panel without looking.
Never. We won't allow it here. Okay, Jonas, my fault. My fault. Go ahead.
No, you're good. You're good. They see these groups as dollar signs, and when you hire all these specific marketing agencies, and my basic research on these marketing agencies, they all are very demographic specific marketing agencies. It is, and whichever ones they have more success with, they're going to invest more dollars in. That being said, the push for children's content is deeper than most people realize. It's more than, there was a couple of married moms in an episode of Doc McStuffins 5 years ago. No, it's going a lot deeper than that.
And by the way, that's why we're covering this. If this were just an issue for adults, so be it. But when a children's entertainment company is focusing on children, and then they're partnering with these groups that are investing in intersectionality and other ideas aimed at, we assume, marketing to children, we've got to cover it. That's no longer a very simple transaction between adults.
Mm-hmm. And if you are watching this and you're wondering what I'm talking about, I'm trying to skirt the line here so that I don't set any weird issues off with the algorithm. But if you are a person of a certain race, they want to tell your child that that child is less than, according to some philosophy, and that someone has a boot on their neck, and they can never succeed in life. And if your child is of a different race, they're trying to say that that child is inherently evil and there's no path to redemption in
generational
their life.
sin.
And
I
if
think you're talking about the Proud Family quite pointedly, I would say, as well. Which was, in my opinion, one of the worst cases of children's propaganda I have ever seen. I said it was on par with whatever the cartoon out of North Korea is that features the little squirrel. I mean, really, it's squirrel, that bad. But, no, not there. Yeah. They're still getting away from us.
Right, and that one specifically paints the emasculation of the black father or the black man in general. They have a gay couple in there, and they make the white guy the big beefy one, and they make the black husband the effeminate one that's just crying out for help. They have no respect for fathers, and specifically black fathers. I don't understand it, and I think about, again, Uncle Phil, Carl Winslow. These are great fathers, and these are great things to see on the screen. I'm not even necessarily getting into all the stuff like making Gonzo into a boy that likes to dress up as a lady, or that I just reviewed an episode. It's gonna get delayed due to some production issues, but it's on a Disney-owned streaming platform about a non-binary okapi, which is something that looks kind of like a zebra or a giraffe. It's a giraffe, by the way. It just happens to have zebra legs. But the whole zoo is getting in on the action for the Pride Parade, and they have to find.
Jonas, you got to be careful about when you say getting in on the action. The crew out there is not going to know exactly what you're talking about. Perhaps it is, though. Perhaps they are. Given that it's Disney, perhaps they are all getting in on the action. We'll leave it there. Yeah. Let's go to our next topic, and we'll just leave it in an awkward place. And then after we do this article, I'd like to just hand it over to all of you. Here on the panel, sort of in a free-form conversation, let you guys just take it away and discuss this naturally. I want to go to this, though, because this out of CNBC by Kevin Breuninger and Sarah Whitten. I go to this because this is sort of what brought so many families into understanding what was going on. The Walt Disney Company, of course, had come out in a political position. They've now declared it was a political position. They're claiming that their political speech has been infringed upon as a result. But the Disney Company came out with a political position saying that they were willing to die on the hill of children should be taught about orientation in official state curriculum. And the state of Florida disagreed with that. And by virtue of the fact that the state of Florida has its legislators voted upon in a democratic process, you could then say, therefore, that it was the voters of Florida who were declaring that no, children as young as 4 in preschool and up to 3rd grade should not be officially taught by state-sponsored schools about orientation issues, that is the purview of the parents. And so Disney went to die on that hill at the behest of Robert Iger, even when he was out as CEO. And even to this day now, with this breaking news from yesterday, Disney continues to fight the state of Florida. They could at any point just say, throw up the white flag, let's make peace, let's see what we can do to come to terms with the state of Florida, given that it's an entire state and we are but a wee little company there. They're not so small, but anyway, they continue to fight this battle. And what's interesting to me about this is that Disney can't win. And it fatigues me, honestly, to continue reading all of these articles where they present it as if Disney can. And maybe, Valiant, you could speak to this, but Disney can't win this fight. This is unwinnable. And so when the company continues to do this, it's desperate. The only thing they can possibly be attempting here is to gum up the works in the legal system in hopes that Ron DeSantis will be gone by the time it works its way through. But this truly is unwinnable. Let me explain. This one says Disney asks court to dismiss DeSantis board's lawsuit and fight over special tax district. To go over this would require an entire video all on its own. So we'll do a very brief cursory overview of it. Disney on Tuesday asked a Florida court to dismiss a lawsuit by the Board of Supervisors that Governor Ron DeSantis had handpicked to oversee Walt Disney World's operations. Stop there. That's not actually what's going on. And this is why we explain entertainment on this channel. What is going on is that Disney was operating in a dubious manner a government, a special district government that was not supposed to be run by Disney and is not supposed to be Disney. And for decades, Disney did that. They did it through manipulation of who could live in Walt Disney World. Again, go watch other videos. We've done tons of them on this topic. And now the state legislature has stripped away the power, annulled, removed, voided that special district. But that special district isn't Disney. We get confused reading these articles because it's presented as if it is Disney. It isn't. It wasn't. It can't be. It's a government. The court filing argues that the lawsuit was rendered moot after DeSantis signed a bill that voided Disney's development deals, which are now at the center of the long-running conflict between Disney and the Republican governor. By signing the legislation, DeSantis essentially carried out the same action that the board is asking the court to take, Disney argued. The governor's move makes any order this court could issue in either party's favor legally irrelevant, Disney's lawyers wrote. And it continues on. The basic thing I want to say here, though, is that, again, Disney can't win this. Just to summarize it and then to hand it to the panel. Disney attempted at the very last minute, as this government was being removed by the state of Florida, which it has full authority to do, Disney attempted through the special district, through this government, and even coming from Disney's own lawyers, proving that it was coming from Disney. Disney attempted to hand the company, through this government, hand the company governmental powers, okay? Disney handed itself governmental powers through homeowners association covenants. It is insanity. It is a crazy legal attempt that will not work. It can't work. This will never work. And yet Disney continues to fight the state of Florida, and I don't see an end to it until eventually they lose. Mm-hmm. So, guys, this is something that could cost Disney, we've talked about it before, tens, hundreds of billions of dollars, perhaps even $1 trillion. Mm-hmm. And it comes down to the issue of when children should learn and from whom they should learn about bedroom issues. Somebody make this make sense to me.
Wow.
Disney's theme song is going to be "I fought the law and the law won."
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Exactly. These lawyers, Disney's lawyers, which I believe is the New York, DC, California, and whatever toady they have in the state of Florida, have zero understanding of Florida law to begin with. Now, Disney started this holy war on the state of Florida because how dare Florida parents want to have control over what their kids learn? How dare Floridians do this? We're from Burbank. We're from California. Don't you know we know what's best for you? Don't you know we know what's best for you? And since you don't know what's best for you, we are going to do everything in our power to overturn your will. So they basically pissed off your regular, Floridian who already doesn't have a very high opinion of Disney. They cannot win this, but it's sheer hubris. They think that they can by sheer will, because for decades, the state of Florida has pretty much let them get away with whatever they wanted to do until we finally had a governor and a legislature that said, okay, we're putting an end to this. There's no way Disney should have this type of deal that they do. And that's it. We need to put a stop to it. But Disney, they're not winning any public favorability outside of a small percentage of Orange County. And Florida is not just Orange County and part of Osceola County.
Lauren, let me ask you a leading question on this. You recently visited Florida for the very first time.
I did.
Was it your sense that the state is sort of a backwater area for rubes or did you come away with a different impression? I mean, it's just funny to me that the state is presented in such a way in the media, and it couldn't be further from the truth. The poor state, it just wants to not have 4-year-olds be taught about these kinds of very complicated, very modern issues when parents could have that opportunity to do so on their own.
Yeah, I would say, I came from the direct opposite side of the country. I'm in Washington State. You almost couldn't get farther away from Florida than I came from to get there. And
both in geography and ideology, probably.
Well,
or politics.
It depends. It's like Washington's very much a divided state, literally and figuratively. The west side of the state is incredibly liberal. The population is all there. They control the demographics of the state. The eastern side is far different, although that's now changing. It's you have a lot of people that are from the west side who are migrating to this side for a number of reasons. But that aside, I didn't know what to expect when I got to Florida. I'd never been there before. I didn't know what I was going to find. When I got there, what I found was that it's an incredibly diverse state. And the thing that impressed me most, and obviously this is a tourist destination, but how friendly and helpful everybody was while I was there. That really impressed me. It was a very welcoming state. I was very impressed, and I would be happy to visit there anytime again. It was just a great time.
Jonah, speaking about visiting Florida, you've also been to the parks recently, and you had a rather shocking reception in Universal Studios in terms of how they were discussing Disney now. What was that? What was that difference that has happened now over the years?
There were a lot of people referring to both. Well, I don't want to get anybody in trouble now, but there were some people. Some of them were in uniforms that were serving food inside the park. They were Universal employees that quietly said, "Yes, the rat," several times, and also guests in the park. There were a lot of people having a really great time for not as much money, whose kids seemed to be a lot happier than I have seen at Disney. And my kids were happier than they were at Disney. It was a great and, dare I say, magical experience.
I mean, if I want a magical experience, I'm going to go to the Wizarding World of Harry Potter.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
To heck with the rat. I'm going to wave my wand around. Well, phrasing.
Oh, look at Lorena there.
Yeah, there we go.
Wolf, let me do a dangerous thing.
Got one of those.
I'm going to ask you a dangerous question, Wolf. Are you ready for it?
Beautiful.
I am ready.
Oh my gosh, they're all pulling out wands.
Fire away, pro.
That's how you know.
All right. Here is the dangerous question. Wolf, why is this company determined to push this particular issue, that being children and these kinds of morality, these kinds of lifestyle issues? See why it's dangerous? See why it's dangerous?
Dangerous indeed. I'm
gonna navigate this. I'll
navigate the best I can. We'll see how I'm a pretty decent driver, so we'll see. At some point in the recent past, a lot of these companies started hiring on, we'll call them ideologues and activists, into higher ranking positions than they should ever have any business in. We saw this with the recent Bud Light fiasco, right? And people that very clearly are not actually intellectually and business qualified for their job that they had been given, but they're there and they somehow manage to pass a test, and they see that as their platform. They see it as their pulpit. This is the vehicle through which I'm going to affect change on an ideological level across the world. They see themselves as crusaders. I need to change society. I need to change culture. It needs to conform, because I don't like the way it is. It needs to conform to my sensibility.
That is an awesome point. Let me make one brief point off of that, Wolf, because here's what people need to understand, and you've done such a fabulous job bringing it to this point. There might be some out there who watch this video and use it to say, oh, everybody on that panel, everybody associated with the Pro Channel, they're awful, and they hate people who are like me, or they hate people that I'm associated with, etc.
I get that on Twitter all the time.
Which is untrue.
Bunch
But
of
here's,
muggles.
here's what's actually being said, and you just crystallized it. Disney and the people who believe in what Disney is doing, they want to insert their beliefs into others via a corporation. We don't want to insert beliefs into others or their children via a corporation. It is not an equal ground here because we're not attempting to insert our beliefs. We're not attempting to indoctrinate. We're the anti-indoctrination group here. That's what all of us are saying. We're looking for neutrality. It's a fantastic point you made. I just had to stop you to say that because I didn't want that to be missed.
It's the middle ground seems so easy. It was mentioned earlier where it was Valiant that mentioned it. When you look at things like the Super Mario Brothers movie, you look at Top Gun. I guarantee keep your eye on the prize with Mission Impossible later this summer as well.
You bet.
Just classic entertainment, not devoid of messaging. That's the one correction I'll make. It's devoid of partisan messaging. Instead, what it has is what entertainment used to have, which is universal truths, things that you can latch onto and therefore identify with the characters that are being presented and identify with whatever experience they're going through, regardless of whether you're the same sex as them, regardless of whether or not you're the same skin color of them. None of that mattered. I grew up watching Justice League, the animated series. Hal Jordan's my guy, but my Green Lantern growing up was John Stewart. Storm is one of my 3 favorite X-Men. I look nothing like either of those characters. I see you, Lorraine. I see you. I love that image too.
And if you want to see Storm, you got to go to Universal.
Yes. So
can I interject something here?
Always.
I think we're actually premising this argument the wrong way. You're asking.
Lauren, you are so intelligent that if you were anyone else, I might be worried about this, but you're actually so smart that you may elevate the entire video. Please.
You're asking, why is Disney doing this? They can't win. That presupposes that their intention is to win. And you had mentioned that maybe they're just wanting to gum up the works, but I don't think that's it. I think there's another goal there, and you have to seek what is that goal. And I think the obvious one is that look at the Budweiser situation like we were just talking about. You have ESG entities who are providing money and credit lines to a corporation that needs them to operate. Now, that doesn't mean that they are going bankrupt or that that they've lost so much money that they can't function. It's a cash flow thing. And the problem is that once you've got on the agenda train, if you irritate a portion of your audience and you try and backpedal, then you get the reverse backlash. That's exactly what happened with Budweiser. When they didn't even apologize. They just tried to distance themselves from their marketing advisor, and then gay and lesbian bars started to stop serving Budweiser. Now they're in a real pickle. They can't please anybody because they're getting boycotted from both sides. And so if there is cash flow that needs to be resolved by these credit lines, they're willing to lose a small number of customers over an amount of time, as long as they think that it's manageable, as long as the credit lines remain open. What becomes a problem is if they start shedding people so fast that the credit line is no longer valuable because you don't have customers anymore. That's where the boycotts really start to bite.
Well, so this is the issue with mixing partisan ideologies and politics with business, because you are just by its very nature alienating a large subsect of your potential customers and demographics. That's why you see issues with Marvel and Star Wars where you ticked off and you vilified the people who were your guaranteed bread and butter income and revenue sources to try and hyper focus and hyper emphasize on a demographic that already largely wasn't buying the product anyway because they're just not interested. And now you've lost both your primary source of revenue and traded it for a source that didn't exist already.
Exactly. Valiant, let's wrap up with you. Can Disney win in Florida? Let's deal with that, because that's what this is sort of predicated on, is the idea that they can't win. Can
Well,
they?
that was my thoughts when I saw this article today with Disney requesting the judge just go ahead and basically dismiss the case. Honestly, as always, I try to be fair. I thought this was an interesting argument from the Walt Disney Company. I'm not saying it's going to be successful.
Did you see point H in the what they filed? There's a subsection H where essentially they just try to prove that they're being retaliated against even more, and that's why they're doing this.
Oh, well, I mean, I didn't go that far. I think the initial argument itself is enough of interest, and that is that, and it's true that the state of Florida did pass a piece of legislation that voided this private agreement between the former Reedy Creek Board and Disney. Therefore, well, Judge, they've already passed a law that says we can't do this. So this whole, and it wasn't a lawsuit, it was a countersuit, which the article got wrong. It's a countersuit.
I'm shocked.
By the Central Florida Tourism Oversight District against the Walt Disney Company, based on those very same things. I think it's something that the judge would potentially have to certainly consider carefully, because I think there is some degree of merit to it. And it's interesting. What Disney is trying to do in that case is they're trying to get that judge to dismiss the state suit, which then, if that law passed in Florida, then what effect does that have on the federal original lawsuit that Disney filed against Ron DeSantis and the Central Florida Tourism Oversight District Board? It kind of nullifies a lot of the stuff in Disney's own lawsuit, save the constitutional violation arguments that they're trying to make. So what Disney is trying to do, I believe, and I haven't talked to Andrew about this yet. We were going to try to talk about this tonight, but he's been away. But from what I see, what Disney tried to do today was basically get everything wiped off the table except for the claims in the federal case that the state of Florida effectively violated their First Amendment rights, which of course is just bogus. They did not in any way. But they're trying to clear the decks. They see this as an opportunity. And as you were talking about gumming up the works and, where are they moving on to? I think at this point in the legal battle, Disney knows internally there's not many places they can go. They're kind of boxed in, but they have to show, right? They have to make a show. They have to get out there and they have to keep making these public fights to rah-rah all of their friends in the politically charged to one side media out there, be it in Hollywood or be it on Madison Avenue in places like Manhattan and all this other kind of stuff, or like the Atlantic, so on and so forth, right? They're trying to get their boys out on the field there to cheer them on. In the long run, is this going to be successful? No. Disney may win a battle here and there in this legal tussle back and forth, but are they going to win the war at the end of the day? Likely not. There's just nothing there for them to stand on, but they can try to drag this out, as I think many people have correctly recognized since this has begun. They're trying to run the clock out to where Ron DeSantis moves on from Florida, runs for president, whatever the case may be, or try to run another Republican candidate against him in a few more years to get him out of the way, which I think at this point, people in Florida are going to be pretty wise to it. So good luck with that. Look, this is all just political gamesmanship at this point. I'm not sure how far they can drag this down the line. Again, I think this was an interesting development today, something that raised an eyebrow. I said, not a bad idea. I'm not saying it's going to win, but okay, I see where they're going with it. But this is just another mess that Disney has gotten themselves into that they're not going to scrape their way out of. And it really doesn't matter. At the end of the day, if all of this falls apart, or if even Disney wins this thing somehow ridiculously, they violate every constitutional principle possible to hand Disney a win. Disney is still doing the things that we started this video with. They're still driving audiences away. At the end of the day, it doesn't matter. People are wising up. I mean, we saw what happened with Lightyear. We saw what happened with Strange World. And people are obviously punishing Disney for this. They're not watching their content. They're not going to theaters in the same numbers, butts in seats. Okay? Butts in seats, not when you adjust it for ticket price inflation, but butts in seats. to go watch their product. Let's see what happens with Elemental this summer. I don't think that's going to be as big a hit as they were probably hoping for. So Disney is creating its own problems regardless of what's going on in a court of law between them and the state of Florida.
Mm.
True on all points. It's been a fantastic panel. I think you've all made an excellent argument for why Disney is truly quadrupling down, why it's in their best interest to moderate, to go to a neutral position, go to those universal truths where it doesn't matter if you are gay, straight, doesn't matter what your ethnic background is, doesn't matter what your religion is, doesn't matter where you've been or what you've done. Those universal truths are true for you and for everyone else. Hopefully they will do that soon. Very quickly, 20 seconds or less, let's go to each person, final thought, and where people can find you on that great, big, beautiful web. Lauren, take it first.
Oh, I just want to see Disney moderate, but I think it's going to take more pain for that to happen. So find me on that Park Place. Find me on Twitter at Lauren Connor. Find me on YouTube at Lauren Connor 9030.
Lorena.
Okay, well, as for me, Disney isn't going to learn anytime soon, and Valiant was 100% right with people stepping away from Disney's entertainment at the parks. It's very obvious that attendance is down. There's sales and merchandise that I've never seen happen before, and they're trying to entice locals to come to the parks, which is something they never do unless
Summer
demand
passes.
is extremely, extremely soft. And Universal, again, people going to Universal, they seem excited to get out of their cars to get to the park. Disney, completely different, not the same story. So this summer is going to be very interesting observing how more and more people are stepping away from Disney. They keep pushing this ideology that they're pushing, and certain Rainbow merchandise is probably going to be collecting a lot of dust.
Rainbow dust on the way.
And then sent to the bargain bin known as Character Warehouse. But folks, you can find me on Twitter, of course, spouting my brand of spice and salt. You can find me on Instagram. You can find me on Twitch. And of course, you can also find me on YouTube with various videos and live streams with pop culture, watch parties, and of course, live streams from the Orlando theme parks.
And Wolf.
Disney is finally going to start learning here the hard way that you can only push people so far. They've been pushing for a while, and now they're pushing very deliberately, very blatantly, masks off, out in the open, after your kids or supporting those who are, and it's going to bite them in the rear. And they've got no one to blame but themselves. And I'm here to see it happen because my hope would be that lesson would be learned, and then you'd get some new people in there who understand how to actually run things properly, how to run things with moderation, how to run things in a way that truly brings the magic that Disney used to be the brand for back to entertainment, because there was a lot of value there. A lot of little girls grew up loving all of the Disney princesses, and I grew up with a lot of the animated films, and I absolutely loved those. The first movie I ever saw in theaters was Aladdin. So I hope that we can get back to that point, but it's going to be a minute. You guys can find me over on Twitch at Caffeinated Wolf. You can find me over on World Class BS every Tuesday night. I'm the co-host of the High Council, and I'm also the creative and social media manager of the Rippaverse. And we've got ISOM 2 coming next month, so hold on to your butts.
Jonas?
Right.
Well, Disney has a lot of work to do to repair their image. Oh, wait, I don't think it's ever going to be what it once was because of this idea. I think they took for granted that their audience, their nice, respectful, traditional Midwestern audience would tolerate quite a bit and politely nod along and say, oh, it's only that part of the company over there. In Disney's usual strategy of putting out middling fare, like the Ron Miller era of Disney, and just pretending that it's a classic until everybody forgets that it's not so great, that's not going to work with this era of films. I don't think they'll ever get there with this. I don't see the shine coming back on the castle. It might be glitter, but it's going to be that crusty old glitter from something that should have been repainted a long time ago. I have a channel with my name on it, but probably should be renamed to Everything Woke, where I go through a lot of children's content and also some things that are for, let's say, stunted children that are very tall. I go through stuff that is now aimed at grown-ups that once
we'll explain that later, folks.
Territory. It's Arrested Development, although I haven't covered Arrested Development, where I go through kids' content and point out all the propaganda stuff that's going on. Really, when it all comes down to it, this is a religious belief on their part, and they're not going to back away from it. And I think they have destroyed the image that they once had, and it's just up to someone else to claim the title. Now, I'm not going to go spend $8, $10, whatever price Disney Plus is. I'm going to go spend $30 so I can watch Mario, only Mario, on Vudu.
Valiant, where can the 199 crew find you?
The 199 stuff. Well, to sum it up, I'll just put it this way. At this point, there is no deviation. The Walt Disney Company is going to continue to douse itself in gasoline and light itself on fire. And you can find me on YouTube covering it all on Valiant Renegade. Hope to see you there.
Folks, it's been a long time since we've pushed an hour, but we did it in this video. We did it for a reason. I want to thank the panel for giving their very valuable time, and I want to encourage all of you out there watching this video, treat everyone, regardless of their background, their beliefs, regardless of their orientations, their ethnicities, etc., treat them as the infinitely valuable people that they are. When you treat others in that manner, you will come away a much happier person with a much more meaningful life. Everybody on this panel would do exactly that, does exactly that in their lives. We recommend it to you. We hope that this has been an educational hour. We hope that we've explained entertainment and we have uncovered what Disney is actually up to, not just the public stuff in Florida, but what they are doing a little bit more hush-hush. So folks, if you like content like this, consider clicking the like button, share, subscribe, and you can stick it to the algorithms when you click it. We're talking about the notification bell. The 6 of us, we are done. But you're not. Drop a comment down below. And wherever you are, whatever you're doing, keep learning, keep growing, and keep having fun.